Case. Good afternoon and welcome to Cambridgeshire County Council's Shareholder Subcommittee. The County Council allows filming and photography at its public meetings, so please feel free to take pictures and use social media during the meeting. Can I ask, though, that everyone present turns their mobile phones to silent or vibrate whilst the meeting is taking place. Please be aware that this meeting is being live streamed and that a recording of the meeting will be available to view on the County Council's website. There is no fire alarm test scheduled for today, so if the alarm sounds, I will adjourn the meeting and we will leave via the side doors and use the fire escape next to the kitchen to make our way to the assembly point in the car park. Item number 1 is apologies for absence and declarations of interest. Would the Democratic Services Manager report any apologies of absence?
I have apologies from Councillor Gowing and Councillor Goldsack is substituting.
Thank you. Does any member wish to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or non-statutory disclosable interest? Lovely, thank you. Agenda item number 2. We've been asked to approve the minutes of the Shareholder Subcommittee on 29th January 2025 as an accurate record. If any member does not agree, would you raise your hand now? I see no objection to the proposal to approve the minutes as an accurate record, so we will take that as carried unanimously. Item number 3. Item number 3 is public questions and petitions. We have received no public questions or petitions. Item number 4 is the This Land Board appointment of new chair. I'll invite the Executive Director of Finance and Resources to introduce this item.
Chair, thank you. As set out in the report at page 14, over the last or just over 12 months, the chair of previous board had moved into the interim chief executive role, and we had another chair who replaced him. There has been an awful lot of work being undertaken at the company in terms of the revised business plan. At this point in time, we have noticed that the current chair therefore wishes to step away from that role and leaves the position of the chair vacant. Under the shareholders agreement that is appended to the report, this is a responsibility for the County Council discharged through this subcommittee, and it is recommended that the chair be appointed through this committee, if you're in agreement, and that being Julia Gregory, who is currently one of the directors on the board. Julia's CV has been appended for members. Information comes from a very strong background in local authority traded companies and has indeed worked in local authority and around development. The position is probably likely to be on an interim period whilst we review the overall position of the board, because we have a number of potential vacancies to address, and I'm suggesting that I bring a further paper back on that to a future subcommittee. If members therefore are in agreement with that, then obviously the recommendations are set out as is, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, so Appendix 2 is confidential. If we wish to discuss the appendix, we will need to go into confidential session. However, I would like to discuss as much as possible of the report in public and take the vote in public. Members, do you have any questions? Councillor Goldsack.
Let me try and ask the question in public, because I think it's key but I don't want to jeopardise the confidentiality of the council or people involved. Okay. Is council happy or content that two questions I'm going to try to ask, that the time that said applicant has available from her multitude of positions is going to be sufficient for the needs of the company going forward? That's the first one. And the second one is impossible for me to ask without breaking confidentiality, so I'll have to hold that one. But if I can just stick with that one at the moment, sorry.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I've held discussions with Julia, and at this present moment in time, it is possible. And actually, she has stepped into this role in an acting position over the last few weeks, and even with a personal bereavement within the family, has done amazing work in terms of managing that capacity at the top and the bottom and the middle of the day. So it's something that we have discussed in terms of that and the call over the next few months, and I'm satisfied that that is available. There's a question about how long term that would be, given other roles and circumstances, but I think in the short term there's certainly that capacity.
To qualify that then, and thank you for that, and we both skirted well there, I think. So thank you. So what you're saying is, for the immediate needs and for the short-term future, you're very comfortable that the applicant brings the skills and has the attributes and ability to deliver those skills that are going to be needed.
Certainly,
Okay.
again through you, Chair, the coverage in terms of current but also previous experience in terms of roles does match the current position that we find ourselves in terms of taking the company forward in terms of its next business plan. She has ensured that the other commitments are manageable within this situation, and on some of the others, that they are quite long term and quite established, and they are more of a cyclical nature in terms of, for example, an NHS role. In terms of the call on that is not as onerous.
Chair, through you, I'll hold my second question. I won't ask us to go into confidential session for this, but I will bring it up under the confidential item that's later if I can. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any debate? Councillor Goldsack.
Thank you. I think I don't want to say Hobson's choice, but I think we are in a position where the person involved is a credible applicant. Am I right to say that she's also the only applicant, and therefore it really is a little bit of a Hobson's choice situation we're in at the moment?
Again, through you, Chair, there are a number of current serving board members, including a councillor, an executive director, and other board members. In looking at the capacity and the ability over the next few months, those options in one sense rule themselves out. I should have mentioned Julia, along with one of the other board members, Wendy, was appointed following the Avison Young review, which looked at the changing skill sets needed for the company after 2021-22 review, and both were appointed in 2023. So they bring the requisite skill set for the developing company that was recognised and continues at the time. And Julia certainly had discussions with other board members about their aspirations within the role, but for a number of reasons, the other board members felt that they couldn't give the capacity or the long-term certainty.
David.
Michael, the interim period, you say a few months. Would it be right to say 6 months, so we all know where we stand, both us as a shareholder and also the company itself, and also to give you time to do what you've got to do, as you said earlier?
I think, again, through you, Chair, I'm recognising the fact that it's most likely to be on that interim basis whilst we review the board, which is also within the gift of this subcommittee through the shareholders agreement, as is the termination of any role, including the chairs. So I think it needs to be viewed in that. The time period could be 3, could be 6, could be 9, could be 12 months. A number of factors of those play into the business plan and the delivery of that. I think as it stands at the moment, there's capacity to see through the next phase of the business plan development. We will then clearly need to consider all of the matters in terms of the skill set and competencies of a chair going forward.
Anybody else?
Just looking at the CV, I mean, obviously this is a very competent appointment, very well qualified to be non-exec director and presumably also to be chair, has had experience as chair. Am I right in thinking that the kind of career as a sort of chair, non-exec director, really started in about 2020, 2019. So it's quite new into that sort of portfolio career. Is there any concerns there that that sort of length of experience might have been greater?
As is always with these cases, there is an awful lot of experience that's gathered through the working side in terms of the full-time roles, dealing with boards from the other side of the table, and that can't be underestimated in terms of the ability there to know what a board needs. As much as in terms of the board's role. So I think whilst the period in terms of as on a board, as a director is short, her period as an officer or a member sitting on boards and reporting to boards, that is significant.
In which case, if anyone else has anything else to ask, no. In which case,
Well, I've got it, yeah.
Edna.
Yeah, so I think the I appreciate that, but I think that there's also experience in sort of turnaround situations, and I just wonder if there's particular because that's a particular kind of skill set and mindset. I just wonder if there are particular things in her background that struck a chord with Michael on that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Certainly, there are a number of two in particular LATCO, local authority traded companies, where the individual has had strong engagement with the council as shareholder in terms of taking those companies on in terms of the next stage of business development. That was tested and confirmed also at Julia's appointment to the board stage, and was one of the key facets identified and relating back to that Avis and Young in terms of that experience. So it does come with certainly two other local authority similar experiences.
And can I just ask, if we didn't agree the recommendation, what is the consequence of that?
So in terms of the board meeting, the board has a number of responsibilities and governance, and clearly one of those is quorate. But the board itself can elect a chair for that meeting to run the meeting, and we would simply revisit this at another stage. But one of the difficulties is in terms of engaging as a shareholder representative. It is more helpful to go to a single individual to work through the board, but clearly one of the objectives of bringing forward a future paper will be to look at the constitution of that board and ensuring that the chair has the right skills at the next stage.
So at the moment, we've got a candidate who's got experience of this land and has a local authority experience, and so would be able to step into the role relatively straightforwardly and competently. I'm sure do an excellent job. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, in which case, the committee is recommended to A, appoint Julia Gregory as the chair of the company's board of directors, and B, receive a further report at its next meeting on the appointment of vacant non-executive director positions. Are we all in favour? Excellent, thank you. I'll take that as agreed. Item number 5. I will read out and propose the recommendation to exclude the press and public. To resolve that the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the ground that it contains exempt information under paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, and that it would not be in the public interest for this information to be disclosed. Information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Do I have a seconder? Edna. Can I ask any member who does not agree with this proposal to please raise their hand? Okay, that's unanimous. I see no objections to the proposal, so we will take that as carried. Yep, 5 minutes to make the meeting confidential.